All
Hey,
right, we're
Lieutenant
ready to
Governor,
go.
how are you? How are you
Very good,
tonight?
Ben. Thanks for the cue. I was wondering when we were starting, but this is great. Welcome everybody who's listening in. I'm Dan McKee, Lieutenant Governor of Rhode Island, and we're really pleased to be able to be back here. And we thank Ben, who's doing our producing, and I always give a shout out to Caswell Cook, who's a member of the Misquamicut Business Association and a town council member in the town of Westleaf for helping us work off of this wonderful virtual format in a time frame when we're trying to communicate from home. I've always started our presentations by saying that the health issue is our most important issue that we're dealing with, and our number one job is not to catch the virus. We want to make sure that we're following Dr. Scott and the health department, their direction, as well as the governor and her staff, and all the people on the front lines working to make sure that we stay safe during this health crisis. But there's many other things that are happening during this time frame. And tonight we're going to be talking to the Women's Fund of Rhode Island with Kelly Nevins and one of our staff people, Cheyenne Casol, who's been really working with us, recent graduate from URI, and we want to eventually bring them on. But I also want to tell you that we're going to have one of our commerce directors, from in terms of the local chambers of commerce, will be on with us as well, Kristen, and then we're going to have a couple business owners that are anxious to figure out a way to open up safely. And I've been saying we're going to open up, but we are going to be opening up with the virus as well. So we need to figure out a way to create the best flexibility we can to make sure that our small businesses can actually operate safely, but I'm certainly advocating for the flexibility piece to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help those small businesses. So thank you all for coming in tonight. I just saw that Councilman Wilbur Jennings is watching us, so thank you. Welcome, hello, Wilbur, and please use our ability to type in, ask questions of us, and we'll try to answer them if we can. If not, all the questions that gets asked will be recorded, and we'll get back to the people who are asking the questions, whether it's on a related topic tonight or whether it has to do with issues that we're all dealing with right now. So here we go. So I wanted to bring in Cheyenne. Shay, come on in, as well as Kelly. And how are we doing tonight? This is great. Hi, Kelly. Good to see you from the Women's Fund of Rhode Island, which we have a lot of respect for in terms of the advocacy that they are, working really hard all the time. But I wanted to go to Cheyenne first. I've been trying to feature a number of the people in our office that are really doing the work and have been when we were under normal circumstances. But under these circumstances, we're meeting every morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're really trying to make sure that we're helping people every day. And Shay's doing a great job. Last week, I had Rosa here, Rosa Di Castillo, who's doing all the Hispanics translations, the Spanish translations of all the press conferences that the governor has, so that we're, communicating into the Hispanic community. And we mentioned that they have a very high incidence of infection rate right now, and we need to be doing everything we can to be bringing attention to that. And we were working on that last week, but tonight we're going to talk about advocacy and the Women's Fund of Rhode Island with Kelly is a great advocate and for a number of the issues that are important to all of us in the state. We're going to be talking about that tonight. But Shay, just tell us a little bit of the things that you do in the office and how you were selected this year to be an advocate on the team of people who were given a lot of training, and I'm sure that has been very helpful to you. But give us a little introduction on yourself. Recent graduate, right? And recent graduate of URI. Just give us a little overview. You've been doing a great job.
So I first met Lieutenant Governor McKee on his 2018 re-election campaign. So I've been involved in politics that way. After I finished up at URI, studied political science and gender and women's studies. I started in your office just last year. And in my time as your special projects manager, I've done a lot of small business work, but also a lot of community work. So most recently, we've organized the used car dealers. So they had a voice in government, which is one of the most important things that everybody needs, because as government employees, we work for the taxpayers, and our small businesses make up our economy here in Rhode Island. So that's been the focus of our office, and that's what we've been really focused on right now. So I've been helping you and the rest of the staff organize these COVID related business calls for the past couple months now.
Oh yeah. But I tell
And
you,
then,
one of the things that really shines through is that not only with the education and the political science, but I think that you also, and in your experience, like you say, in campaigns, and you've been the head person, I think, in the for the national campaign for Joe Biden as well, which I endorsed him very early on, and you've been the point person and recognized as that from top level campaign staff as nationally in the Biden campaign as being the go-to person. Tell us a little quickly about about that experience for you.
Sure. So, just last night we were on a call with the National Lieutenant Governors Association with the national political director from Joe Biden's campaign. And we've just been heading up the Rhode Island effort here just to help them out because it was such a crowded race. And now that's a little more calmed down. Now we have this pandemic, so they still need help. So, we've had no problem doing it because of this, what we believe in so heavily with the vice president and
so
advocacy work.
I bring that up, Shay, not necessarily. I mean, there's going to be people listening that are going to be with Joe Biden. There's going to be people not with Joe Biden. But I wanted to give it an example as we lead in to Kelly introducing herself in terms of the work. You've really honed in your skills, since we met at URI a year and a half ago or more, 2 years ago now, and you've really developed those skills. But there's a reason for that, and you're getting a great deal of mentorship from people that are, my network, but also Kelly. Kelly's had a lot to do
definitely.
with helping you along. So I want to go to Kelly now. Just give us a little overview of what the Women's Fund is, but and also how you're helping people like Shay really be really strong advocates and really, speaking in a way that they gain influence even at a young age, like Cheyenne.
Sure. So thank you. Shay has been great as a Women's Policy Institute Fellow, which is one of the programs of the Women's Fund of Rhode Island. Our mission is to invest in women and girls, and our goal is to achieve gender equity through systemic change. And we really believe that the more voices of women that are heard in our leadership halls, the more change can be made for our community to the better. Right now, the COVID-19 crisis really, it shines a spotlight on the gender inequities that exist in our society. When we think about the fact that women are the breadwinners in more than 60% of families, and that 60% of the jobs that have disappeared, were held by women right now, and that 73% of healthcare workers are women who've been infected by the virus. Women are on the front lines. They're often in very low-paying jobs with no benefits, no access to paid sick and family leave, and we're expecting them to step up in this time without, in many cases, getting they're getting less than $15 an hour on average. So our Women's Policy Institute is a place where we train women to learn how to advocate for systems change, primarily through policy change. It's a 9-month free program that teaches women all about how politics work in Rhode Island. And each of the fellows gets involved in a policy project that they work on with their cohort, and they work to address different issues. So Shay, what's the project that you're working on right now?
We are working on source of income discrimination for housing. So landlords discriminating against Section 8 housing or any other type of income.
So yeah, each cohort can break into either one or a couple of different projects. In the past, our Women's Policy Institute fellows worked on paid family leave and helped to pass it in Rhode Island. Fellows from the last class that went through helped to repeal the tampon tax. So really working on different ways to make our community more equitable. If you don't mind, I'd love to do just a quick commercial shout out that we are starting to accept applications for the next season, which will start in September and go through June. Again, it's a free program, and people can find out all about the program and see Shay's profile and profiles of our other fellows from this year on our website at wfri.org/leadership. Thank you.
Yeah, it's on the screen right there, Kelly. And
yeah.
so I just think it's just, just great to have participation in our government. And I think that professional advocacy is really important. I see in some cases, unprofessional advocacy, it doesn't work as well as somebody who's really has a strong voice, but really provides it in a courtesy way and in a way that that more people hear it. And I think that you represent that, Kelly, as a leader, and also the Women's Fund of Rhode Island does that. And so I believe that, I've always said this, and wherever there's an imbalance or unlevel playing field, we need to level it. And I've been doing that, pretty much all the time that I've been in community service, whether it's with Boys and Girls Clubs, when I changed the name from the Boys Club to the Boys and Girls Club, but my dad started it 25 years earlier, and when I was president, we made that change. And we've been really advocating, in that direction ever since. It happens that my wife, Susan, and I have a son and a daughter, and they're grown and out of college now, but I've always said that I don't want anyone to have a more of an advantage than the other. I want Kara to have the same advantage as Matt to have the same advantage as Kara. And so I think that your professional advocacy is a really great example that I've been trying to emulate and to try to describe to some of the people out there that don't have as large of a voice. And the small business community right now, which we advocate for in our office, have not really had a strong advocacy in a way that they need it. And so we're going to try to model some of the work that you've done to do that. And we know that inside the small business community, there's disparities even inside those groups, right? With women-owned businesses,
Sure.
Hispanic-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. We know that they're the percentages of them be able to get financing and other things is not balanced. So we know there's imbalance right into that space. And we know in terms of just general policy, and we're going through that right now, that in general, all small businesses right now need a great deal more advocacy, and we're trying to fill that in. So, the work that you've done is fantastic. And I want to just say to the people listening that, to get involved, if you happen to be someone who fits what the Women's Fund is looking for, and Kelly can kind of explain what that is right now. But yeah, give a little pitch, because I think that they should get involved in a way that would make sense. Right, Cheyenne?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So, our program is primarily for women and people who identify as female to participate in. Again, a free program. You meet one Friday a month for classroom work, and then you break into your teams to be working on your special project throughout the entire program. And it generally runs from September until June. I do feel bad for Shay and her class, because, just as their policy projects were really launching, the legislative session has, been closed down. So they really haven't had a chance to put their full brunt of their advocacy work into fruition yet, although I know they have been in touch with different legislators as time has gone out. They haven't had the usual experience. At any rate, it doesn't matter what industry you come from. It doesn't matter your age. We would even consider potentially high school students, but I will say it's a very intensive program, and they'd have to get permission to be out of school one day a month for the actual classes. We have had fellows in the program as young as 20, and I believe as old as 67. So if you're retired and you're thinking, hey, I'd like to get involved and make a real difference, this may be a way to do that. It also, we've had several women who've gone through who have run for office and been successful at it. So they use their advocacy skills as a way to then go deeper into the political arena. So I, again, invite anybody who's interested to check out that webpage. They can download an application. We are accepting applications through June 30th, and we'll start interviews throughout the summer and choose our class to begin in early September.
Yeah, and Kelly, I want to go to Shay for a couple minutes of her comments, but I want to tell you that I can tell you that in terms of Cheyenne, she's been able to communicate with the lieutenant governor, and right, which is good, and also able to use the network that we have to advocate for many things, including some of the work that you're advocating for, and then also our office has really tried to make sure that even when we're advocating very strongly for something, whether it's education or small business or women's issues, or whatever they might be, we want to be professional. And I can tell you, Shay's done that, and now she's been able to interact with the different department heads, really at a high level, have direct contact in there, and also with a number of the reps and senators as well. So, Shay, just give us a little bit of why, what you've been able to get from, a program like the Women's Fund of Rhode Island, so those people who are listening understand that, why it would be important for them to take Kelly up on her offer, all right, to get involved.
So our facilitator is Paula Hodges, and so we go in once a Friday every month, and we get our little homework that we do beforehand, and we go through a full day session. So we will break down how policy works and all the different aspects, like how the media works, and how policy isn't necessarily through the General Assembly. You can have regulatory change, like LG, how we work with the DMV, with the auto dealers. You don't have to pass legislation. Yep. They can pass whatever. They can just change the rules and regulations internally. They don't need to go through the General Assembly, which is just a lot harder to do. So we've learned, how important networking is, especially, which is why I'm where I am in your office today, and how I'm working with
and explain a little bit about the follow-up, because I can tell you that you're able to communicate with people in a real straightforward way, but your follow-up skills in terms of getting right on an issue and following up, whether it's connecting in with a senator or a rep or a department head or a constituent, right? Because we're helping constituents every day. Maybe you can just talk a little bit about the way that we're helping people right now in our office, with our staff, and how you interact with our staff to make some of those things happen.
Yeah. So, what every good advocate knows is that you have to have the knowledge. So you can't walk into a room and start speaking without knowing what you're talking about. So I am constantly doing research. So everything today is changing by the hour. So I'm just always, spending all my time reading and working with the different departments, like DBR, with the Director Tanner and the Deputy Director Julietta, Director Hayward from the SBA, Deputy Director Matt Weldon from DLT. So I'm always communicating with them, texting them. I'm working with Senator DePalma, texting him and seeing what they can do to help us and what we can do to help them. So, it's always like an even exchange, and seeing what information is available and what people need. So we're always listening to the community.
Yeah, and again, thank you, Kelly, for helping Cheyenne hone her skills. I think that you're going to be very proud of Cheyenne as being a graduate.
I am already.
We had 2 high school students on last week on this that participated. The Lapia twins. They both they are heading to college next year, but they got shortchanged on the senior year. And the 2 girls, they have their own business, and they participated in our entrepreneur challenge last year. They were on and explained exactly what you said. The kind of the groups that were getting prepared for something in the spring here in the early summer, that was cut short on them. But still the skill sets they developed are going to stay with them for a lifetime. So you've done a great job by many of the people in your program, the women that are in your program. Any ending words that you want to put on the table here, Kelly? Otherwise, we're going to.
What I would say is that what we're focusing on right now through the Women's Fund is sort of the mid and long-term impacts of COVID-19. And as we start to rebuild our economy, we are hoping that Rhode Island's new economy will be more equitable. And so really thinking about, again, things like access and affordability for childcare and paid leave and paid sick time and a living wage for people are going to be really important as we move forward. If nothing else, this crisis has shown us really how awful the inequities are and how they're impacting our community. Being able to address those as we move into a new America is going to be really important. And I thank you for your time and attention.
Yeah, well, I think that those are all important key things. I'll just bring to your attention the fact that if we don't really double down on our small businesses and help them, because not all the federal money is going to flow to our small business, especially the startup businesses. We know, in fact, in the Hispanic community, they're the fastest growing small business sector in the state. They employ many people, and unless we're very diligent on, and I've been advocating for a strong state program, and even as a former municipal leader myself, advocating for to really answer the call as you just described, and also answer the call because. This is extraordinary times, and we can't be thinking as if it were, they were normal times.
Right.
We need to be extraordinary in our thinking, and I've been advocating very strongly that small businesses, which are a number of women-owned businesses, they're going to have. First of all, they've been out of business for a long time. They have on average 27 days of actually cash that's on hand. We're well past that. And they're going to incur expenses to open up, Kelly. And because they're going to have to open up in this new world with PPE stuff, which is, the personal protection equipment. And they're going to incur an expense. I think that the state, if the state has closed them down, rightfully so in this circumstances, as they reopen, they should be participating and helping them do that financially, and especially into the small businesses. So we're going to share with you, to get where you want to go in terms of some of these equity issues. It's going to be very difficult to get there if we start off this next phase of our economy really behind the 8 ball and having very weak financial situations with, in particular, our small businesses. It's going to be very difficult to kind of start talking about some of the equity issues that I think are very important. And that's why I had you on today, because I do believe they are important. So it's a whole package right now. We got to be thinking very extraordinary. And I think you get that opportunity to advocate into that space, because it is going to be a reset.
Yeah. And I would also say that it's not just local that we need to look at, it's national. And some of these things can be addressed at the national level, but we have to have the will Our community has to have the will to get to those places. I think both your vision and my vision can exist in the community, but we have to figure out how to make that work together. I believe we can do it. Yeah.
I agree. I don't think it's a one, all or nothing for anybody.
Right.
I really do believe that, that's why, and Cheyenne knows, the theme of my office. What's the theme? What number is our theme, Cheyenne?
39.
39. And so there's 39 cities and towns in the state, and everyone's important. And the communities that make up those communities, Kelly, I believe are important. And I think that you do have an opportunity right now to really show that and demonstrate that. And I think that we're seeing that every day with people stepping up and trying to help out across different lines that normally are, isolated and in silos. I think you're going to see an opportunity here where we take advantage of it. So I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
Yeah, you bet. Shay, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Governor. Talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk in the morning. That's a very powerful group, with Kelly and Shay and all for all the reasons that we just talked about. And I do believe that, as Kelly said, that that we can make all these things work if we're working together, right? We can take care of a number of different interests out there that I believe are aligned just in terms of the, creating strong communities and making sure that we're getting the most out of everybody that's part of those communities. So looking forward to that. Ben, I don't know whether we have Kristen in yet, but if we don't, then Kristen is here. Oh, hey, Kristen, how you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
How do you like this little format? It's almost like the Tonight Show.
I think it's fantastic.
And you were in the green room?
I think you can have another career.
Huh? You think so?
You can have another career.
Well, I'm told that this be a little less stressful than what we're going through right now. That's for sure.
Right.
Were you able to listen in at all on the last conversation in the green room, or did you just come from that other call?
I missed it. I just got off another call.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you first. Kristen Erdbeck, she is one of the top people in working with small businesses in the state of Rhode Island as the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce down in North Kingstown, that area, and the surrounding areas, Kristen. And you've been fabulous, and I appreciate the fact that you've been able to include our office in because of the small business interest that I brought to the table here as Lieutenant Governor. Mm-hmm. And whether it's a tour on the presidential plane, right, with the kids, or whether I'm in the
Quonset.
Yeah, or whether we're in the airplane hangar down in Quonset with all your foods related stuff and hundreds of small businesses, and on and on and on. So tell us a little bit of overview of your chamber, and then I want to talk about what the type of things that you're thinking about in terms of helping them out, through this health crisis and beyond.
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you for your ongoing support. I mean, ever since you been in office, you've been fantastic reaching out to all the chambers and all the businesses. It's been terrific. You've been at all our events, and we really appreciate you being our advocate out there in the community. We, the North Kingstown Chamber of Commerce, represent a lot of businesses that not only are in North Kingstown, but throughout Rhode Island, mostly in South County. And they range from small businesses to mid-size to large scale businesses, such as the manufacturers out in Quonset. So we have quite a range and a lot of questions. We've been following the pandemic closely. We have a whole section with all the executive orders and guidelines actually on our website, northkingstown.com.
Yeah, and you've been a great partner, and you know that we've got a couple of small businesses that put that Gift It Forward site, the rismallbusiness.org, and we prominently put, that's meant to be like a portal for all businesses. So your chamber is prominently, featured as a resource in the state of Rhode Island. So I think that's one of the things that we really need to spend some time on focusing in. Tell us some of the challenges that your businesses, that you represent, are having at the moment, and some of their thoughts in terms of how to, how to deal with it.
Well, it's all new territory for everyone, right? So having the guidelines are helpful, and actually rolling them out for each business is where the challenge lies in identifying and procuring the PPP, the cleaning supplies, hand sanitization, face shields if businesses would like it, and plexiglass and more. We've been very excited to learn just recently, just hours ago, that Dave Shenever from Rhode Island Manufacturers Association will have a whole e-commerce site next week up and running, where he has identified a lot of these suppliers where people could actually go on their website and look at the different offerings. You know, some would be less, he said, for masks, but then they might take longer, whereas some might cost a little bit more, but they're here sooner. So I think that will be a big resource and help for the businesses.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that today with Erin in Donovan Boyle from down in the Newport Chamber, and I really think that, and I just said it earlier, and I've said it today with you, and continue to advocate that the state there's some funding that should be appropriated towards that, and there should be some way to allocate help for those businesses that would go to a site that Dave is setting up from the Rhode Island Manufacturers Association, which he's, the executive director of. And there should be ways that we're identifying some of the businesses that, I was talking to one business that's in the hair salon business, because they just paid their rent and they didn't, they weren't active for, the 60-day time frame. They got like $200 in their account for their business account. How are they going to open up without some level of assistance? And why would a good business, that was operating prior to this health crisis, we should be doing everything we can on the state and the municipal level, along with the work that you're doing and others. But funding is going to be very important, because not every business is going to benefit from the federal dollars. I'm advocating really strongly that the state really partner in with our local banks and other corporate, corporations that know that our small, protecting our small business at this point in time is very important. So we'll see whether that happens. But I think that if it doesn't, then we're going to have to figure out how to fend for ourselves. But at the same point in time, these businesses that you're representing, right, have been closed. A number of them have been closed, right?
Right.
In your membership.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so what, what are we going to do for them? And that's, I think that's the question. And this is extraordinary times.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires some extraordinary thinking. And I'm certainly encouraging the governor's office and the General Assembly, and also all our municipal official, leaders to really respond. And you've been starting to talk to some of the municipal leaders, right, in terms of their local ability. Yeah.
And I have. We've been talking to a bunch of them, and we actually had a ribbon cutting on Monday, first one during the pandemic, of Wicked Tulips Flower Farm, which used to be in your areas, now in South County in the old Charter Farm.
Right? That was in Mayor Policina's area, right?
Yes. And Ralph Mollis was there, our town manager. And we were talking to him about what some of the other cities and towns are thinking of doing, for example, of converting their parking lots so that they could have outdoor dining for restaurants that currently do not have outdoor dining. Just thinking out of the box of how we can accommodate businesses so that they can succeed during this pandemic.
Yeah, and what's the response been, from the municipal leaders that you're talking to right now?
They've been very engaged and very supportive of businesses. I mean, they're very concerned, and they want them to survive and be successful. And this is certainly challenging times. And our role as a chamber, we feel, is to provide our members with the resources and the guidance that's needed so that they can be open during these phases, the 3-phase plan, but also while maintaining the safety and precautions that's been outlined by the state.
Yeah, it's very important that someone like yourself and the chamber, who's been very involved, as I kind of talked to about in the first part of this conversation, you've earned your stripes. This is not new territory for you. It's just a new it's just a new picture, right? It's
Right.
a new landscape that we got to deal with. So yeah, so from that point of view, thanks for the leadership that you've provided. I just think that we're going to have. I know that other municipalities are stepping up. As a mayor, I recognize the importance of small businesses. I'm a small business person myself. And I really fought hard in making sure that we didn't have a tiered tax rate between our residential and our business rates. And that because I felt as though that our small businesses were very important to our community. And I believe in level playing fields. And we're going to find out if we don't really step up, Kristen, if you're going to do all the work you can, but you only can provide so much resources. You don't even qualify for any of the SBA help, right? In terms of
none of the chambers do because we're nonprofits, but 501c6s, not 501c3s. But I'm glad you invited me on to talk about some of the questions I've been receiving from the chamber members. There've been a bunch from some of the merchants, such as, should we establish senior hours, and what about trying on clothes? And there's just a whole host of questions, and every business, every industry is so unique. So not everyone has all the answers yet, so everyone's doing their best to maintain safety, but to open.
Yeah, so my advice has been to the businesses, and we're going to have a couple fitness owners on, after this interview, because I think that they really need to speak up, and this is a time for them, because my feeling is, as I've said earlier, look, we're going to reopen, but we're going to reopen and the virus is going to still be with us. The COVID-19 is not going away, so it's going to be with us. So how do we create the most flexible, safe strategies for our businesses and the people who do business with our businesses? And I think that what's going to happen, unless there's really people speak up about just simple examples like the farmers speaking up about the garden shops and being competitive with the garden shop operations in Massachusetts, certainly competitive even inside our own borders in terms of some of the big box stores that are operating in a way and selling things that our small businesses are not allowed to sell right now. I think that we really need to engage our small business community in a way where they're heard, because otherwise I think that phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 is going to really reflect good people trying to figure it out, but it won't include, the small businesses and the messaging. So those questions are very important. I know that there's a portal on the on Liz Tanner's the business Department of Business Regulation that they can go to kind of give their input in terms of what a safe opening looks like to them. They can also send it to our office. If you receive anything, Kristen, you can send it to our office,
Okay,
to our email. That would be great. And then what we're doing is we're personally transferring that and delivering that to the Department of Business Regulation so that we know that they've received it and we know that they're, listening to our small business. So that's something that all the listeners here, they have ideas that they can either funnel it through Kristen if you're down in her neck of the woods, or directly to us. But if it gets to us, we'll get it to DBR, the Department of Business Regulation.
That's great. And I want to thank you for your Gift It Forward initiative. That's been fantastic. There are how many businesses on there now?
There's like 1,000 businesses registered, and we've engaged some small businesses volunteering wise. And you know how important the volunteers are. Your board members are volunteers, right?
Right.
And without a good volunteer network, we only can do so much. But over 1,000 businesses they've engaged. They've been able to. I would say that it's an extraordinary effort, quite frankly, because I'm talking to lieutenant governors around the country. Next week, we're going to have as my guest the lieutenant governor from Michigan and the lieutenant governor from Delaware are going to be on this show talking about reopening strategies that are happening in their states. Hopefully we'll be able to compare things and help our small businesses. But yeah, there's over, I'd estimate, besides the volunteer work of the people who are volunteering their time just to get the portal ready, we've had over $100,000 of actually media coverage that's been donated through WPRI. Cox Cable's a new partner with us. As well as the Lamar signs with big billboards on Route 95, 195. And that's what I was saying earlier about, I think there's pent up opportunities with our larger corporations for some real social entrepreneurship. And hopefully we're going to be able to figure out how to, channel that back into like a small business, rismallbusiness.org effort, using it as a portal for everybody that's interested in helping the small businesses. But that's been I think that is an extraordinary effort by volunteers to do something like that. I'm not aware of anywhere in the country where on a per capita basis, 1,000 small businesses have been collected together. You can go to, people are listening to the program tonight. They can go to that site. They can shop their local vendors and their local small businesses, and we encourage you to do that. If you're a small business that's not currently, enrolled in that site, you should do that. It's no cost. And we're and if you don't have the ability to do online sales, one of the businesses, Chris Parisi from Trailblazers in Providence, actually is offered at no charge to help set up people with links that allow them to accept, transactions online if they weren't even set up to do that, and that's at no cost. So we're driving a great deal of business to these businesses right now, and also yeah, go ahead, Ben. Who's that? Oh, somebody just echoed in.
Nope, it was just your.
Did I just hit you, Ben?
Nope, it was just your voice echoing from Kristen's mic. Don't worry about it.
I was echoing. Okay, all right. Well, and by the way, that's our producer, Ben Barber. Ben Barber's our producer on this show, and he's been doing a great job. But yeah, I would just then thank you. Kristen, we think that the more vocal we get, doing it professionally, which you have, are an example of that, a real strong example of really being professional in your advocacy. We got to continue to do that. And I think that we need to, really ratchet it up on behalf of the small business community. I really think the state and local communities partnering in, as I was just saying, I think there's some pent up potential that hasn't been tapped yet, that could be organized on a state level and a local level with our municipal leaders to really identify these companies that are more than prepared to potentially fund an acquisition strategy on that PPE stuff for our small businesses.
And I want to give a huge thank you to Ocean State Job Lot, who's a chamber member. They are posting every day of thousands of masks that they're giving to hospitals, to just so many businesses and healthcare workers, and they've been so proactive and such a strong community supporter. So they're a great example of business leadership in the state.
Yeah. And they're stepping up on their own and doing that, and two thumbs up to them. They're a great partner for Rhode Island, and I think that we can see more of that. And so we're going to try to create just like we did with the Entrepreneur Challenge. We had sponsorship there. We're going to have that program this year again to all the students in the state competing for about $14,000 of scholarship money. Those dollars have been donated by our local small businesses and our local credit unions. So I think that there's a way to, quite frankly, to put our heads together. I'm looking forward to doing that with you and Erin and others, to create a strategy that kind of help subsidize either from the state level, the local level, or even from philanthropy, like you just talked to, like with the Ocean State Job Lot and others, to really, protect our small businesses, Erin. So any closing comments from you at all on that?
Mother's Day is in a few days. Mother's Day is in a few days. So happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Yes.
And a great opportunity to go on Gift It Forward to purchase some gift cards to give to mom and support small businesses and our economy.
Yes, and if you happen to live in the North Kingstown area, go to the businesses down there, right, Erin? Yes. No, my feeling, a dollar invested in a small business this weekend, regardless of where it is in Rhode Island, is really helping us out. So, Erin, thank you. Kristen, thank you so much for being here. And
sorry, Erin couldn't join. She had to jump on a personal.
Yes.
Thing, so yeah.
We'll get her back. Don't worry, she can't get away that fast. And it was tell her it was painless too. Okay.
Okay, I will.
Okay,
thanks
Kristen,
for having me.
So well, right back at you. Thanks for being here. Yes, there's a dynamic leader in the state working with our small business. And again, I would say that Kristen has been at it nonstop for all the years that I've been lieutenant governor, and so it's just a natural for her to provide the leadership that she is right now in her part of the state, and also stepping up, understanding it as a broader network here, because all 39 cities and towns are impacted in any way that any one of us can help anyone in the state of Rhode Island right now, whether it's in small business or issues that have to do with health or food or education or whatever it might be. Rhode Island's going to step up. I know they are. We just got to give everybody that opportunity. And if you're listening in and you want to volunteer in some way or contribute a thought about that, you can reach us at 222-2371. That's my office number. And you also can go to our website at ltgov20@gmail.com, and you can contact us through that email address. Ben, do we have a couple fitness advocates on? Oh, yes. Nice. So, yes. So, Adam, Judith, thank you for being here. We had a little conversation with you today. And as Kristen just said, we had one of our guests end up with a family issue they had to do. So we ended up with about 15 minutes that we can kind of talk about the issues that we talked about today. So, Adam, let's start with you. Just introduce, your business to people, and I'll just set it up by saying that my main word right now is flexible. We need to figure out, as I'll repeat, we're going to reopen. We're going to reopen, and the virus is going to be there. We got to figure out how to be flexible so that businesses can operate in a way that they can service their clientele and their customers. So, Adam, just give a little overview, and then we go to Judah, and then we see what's going on there, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. And good to talk to you again. Thanks for having me. So my wife and I own Full Range Fitness. We're located in Providence. We've been there for almost 8 years now. And what we do is mostly small group training, personal training. And really, we kind of consider ourselves to be on essentially the front line of health in a way that is more almost on the preventative side, if you want to look at it. So we often say that our medical professionals, the doctors, our hospitals, they're really kind of the lifeguards, right? So once you're already in deep trouble, they can save you. But us in the fitness and health community and nutrition, we are really, I guess you could say, the swim coaches, right? We were trying to help folks navigate and avoid getting into situations where they're going to have compromised health, things like obesity, obviously, but plenty of other things. And that's the way that we work with our community, is basically to help people be stronger, more resilient people. And that's what we've been doing since we opened. And now, obviously, in this current climate, we're, like many other small businesses, put in a position where we can't do what we normally do, and understandably so. But as you said, it's kind of, I think, getting to a point where we as an industry need to be a little bit more vocal for ourselves and kind of represent ourselves and share with people why we feel like we're an important part of not only the economy, but the community in general.
Yeah, Adam. So full disclosure, we were in the fitness business for 30 plus years up in Northern Rhode Island, and had many of the same things that the fitness centers that we talked to today. So not only are you providing a great service to the communities, but you are, and especially in time like right now, it's clearly that we know that stress levels can be somewhat under control if we're actually staying physically fit. And then, and right now it's not easy, right? Staying at home, trying to figure out how to keep some sort of a schedule. I find myself starting off with calls early in the morning and continuing right through the day right now because the needs are so great. So, yeah, and I want to, we're going to get back to you in talking about, your thinking on a safe opening. We did clarify that retail will be, open and shops like, places like that you have, or if you're have some sort of retail sales, that's going to be something that's going to be available. That was a question on the call today that we got clarified. But yeah, let's go. Is it? I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce this. Is it Judah? Is that the first name?
Yes,
good,
sir.
Judah. Good. That's a new one for me, but I like it, and I like the way that you were talking today about. I think that. As I said, I think we need to be direct, professional, but, tell us a little bit about your business and and share with us some of the, the concerns that you have, and in particular some of the misconceptions potentially that the fitness business has, especially the scale. I think everybody think it's a huge, these places are huge places, 50,000 square feet, thousands of people going in a day. That's not necessarily the case in our a number of the fitness centers that are in the state of Rhode Island. So we got to kind of distinguish between the bigger ones and the ones that are working with a smaller scale, but still doing the great work.
Yeah. So Judah Boulay, I own No Risk CrossFit, which is part of Northern Rhode Island Strength and Conditioning, located in Smithfield, Rhode Island. June 1st, we'll be open 7 years. And really, like, the work that we do, we're, I consider ourselves, myself and like Adam's Gym and gyms like us, boutique gyms. We're not large scale gyms. There's a lot of personal interaction. I know every member who walks in the door on a personal level. And it's not one of those things where if you walk in and you just go into a piece of equipment, everything is controlled, all the variables are controlled, and we have that ability. And just like Adam said, we're frontline in terms of proactive health. We're making our members healthier. We're making them fitter. We're doing all the things which helps people combat COVID. And, my biggest frustration is that things are still being allowed to be sold as essential, which do not necessarily help people deal with the COVID virus if they do contract it. Alcohol is still being able to be sold, tobacco, vape, even McDonald's and other fast food. All those things lead to things which complicate health and put people weaken their immune system and put people at a more just make people less healthy. And the less healthy you are, the more you're going to face complications from COVID potentially. And what we do is we're frontline workers. We're making people more resilient to everything. We, not only physical health, but mental health. I can't tell you how many people have their mental health has slightly deteriorated, not only from being shut down, but because they don't have the physical outlet that we provide. And, the longer things go on, the less likely people are going to have the motivation to work out on their own. And this is the big concerning factor.
Yeah, and this mental health piece, I think it should not just go without notice. I mean, May is Mental Health Month, and we know that people who are active and they feel good about themselves, and they also, create a more healthy lifestyle for them and their families, and the stress levels right now with people in general are high, and so we got to figure out a way, as we discussed today a little bit on our call, about one-on-one training issues, downsizing classes, maybe bringing them to the outside. The restaurants are talking about bringing their the takeout to tables that are on their property. That seems to be gaining a little bit of traction. And I can tell you that unless we really engage in the discussion and find a way, and up till now, or even maybe you have had that the ability to get out and tell your story, but what I'm being told by the small businesses in particular, regardless of who we're talking to, is that there hasn't been really a channel to do that, and there hasn't been an awareness that, quite frankly, that some of the leadership should be doing that. A good example was in Providence this week. That the mayor shut down like 14 different streets and never talked to the businesses on those streets about how it would impact their business. And we had restaurants that were doing takeout and delivery, and it required cars to come up so they could put the food in the back of the car and either have it delivered or actually put it in the back of the the car of the customers. And if they can't drive up, they can't even do the takeout. So I just think that we should be a lot more aware, policymakers. I think that Kristen mentioned that the local communities are starting to get engaged. On my call on Friday, I'll have three municipal leaders that are talking about 3 town council members from Wesley, Cumberland, and Johnston are really focused in here. I'm encouraging everybody to be calling their reps, call their senators, interact with all your elected officials as being a real key piece, making sure stuff gets to the governor's office that you're talking about, Judah and Adam. So Adam, just, we still got a couple more minutes. I think you want to add maybe potential some things here in terms of like, as we start this conversation about having flexibility in this industry, because it's an important industry. It employs a lot of people, pays a lot of taxes. It supports the communities in many different ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know the key word is being flexible. And I think what's interesting for our businesses, especially like Judah mentioned, we consider ourselves kind of, so we say boutique gyms or micro gyms. It's that we've been having to evolve constantly to meet not only the market, but everything that's presented us. So, in terms of whatever it is we need to do. And I know, for example, for us, even, we still have our clients that we've been dealing with for years and years. We know them, we know their families. During this time, even though we're not operational, we have done everything that we possibly can to stay connected with them, to provide them support, to try to motivate them to stay active and do everything they can. So in terms of flexibility, I think that, that's kind of the MO of businesses like ours. And definitely, I can't speak to what it's like to own a large scale commercial gym, but I know that for the, kind of the mom and pop fitness it's really about giving folks what they need and what's required. The other thing I think that's interesting to note is that all of us, in terms of, gym owners and everyone that was on the call today, what they're basically saying is come in and look, to our elected officials, to whomever is going to be, determining whether or not this is reasonable or effective or what is going to be, the way going forward. Come into our space, come see what we're doing, learn. Like we want guidance, and we want to be told what it is we need to do in order to meet the standards that are being put out. And frankly, as we know right now, there really aren't standards yet. We're looking at what other states are doing, what other countries are doing, but we haven't been given by anybody really what it's going to look like exactly. So we're just kind of thinking on our feet now and basically adhering to, or being flexible enough to work with whatever we need to.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Judah, we got a couple more minutes. You will just weigh in and also touch on the fact that our clubs, I'll speak in the past, we know who's in our clubs. We know who are, we can track that through, regular just paperwork or in a lot of ways, the computers really determine how many people we have at any given time. And so speak to that and anything else you want to add. We got a couple more minutes.
Yeah. So, I think, one of those things that like all of our gyms require a sign up. And, in terms of contact tracing, I don't think a retail outlet can't do contact tracing like a boutique or micro gym like us can do. Like I can tell you who was in a class with somebody on this date last year, and all of the 10 classes we offer daily. So we have that ability so that if somebody does contract the virus and they want to know who they've been in touch with, like I can pull that data up instantaneously. You can't do that if you go to a Target or a Whole Foods and there's 300 people or 250 people in the store, however many it wants. So within using the guidelines for retail outlets of 300 square feet, per person, if that's what was, applied to us, we could still have a class with X amount of people, and we would know who's in class with that people. We have a lot of control over many of the variables. We know what equipment's being touched, and that equipment's being sterilized after it's touched or disinfected after it's touched, before the next class gets in. So, we have a lot more control over the variables that many of these larger retailers or even smaller retail establishments, which are allowed to open, we control those variables a lot better than they do. But yet we're once again, we're frontline workers and making people healthier. And once again, we're still handcuffed and we're still forced to remain closed.
Yeah. So I want to just thank you for getting on the call with me today and then coming on tonight at short notice. But I think that this will help, continue to put out on the front line because right now, I mean, the fitness centers are not being spoken about in phase one and not even in phase two at the moment, as I found out after our call today. So we need to figure out a way to have a safe strategy that can be flexible so that we can, do all of the good things that I know our fitness fitness industry does in our state, and how the people who interact with all the goodwill that you have developed over the years with your members, with your clients. We need their voice as well. So thank you so much for being here tonight. We'll follow up on Friday's call, and then we'll have a call group on the Tuesday call too, to continue to talk about this industry as being an important one as any other industry out there right now. And we need to make sure we're listening to everybody. So thanks for being here.
All right.
Appreciate
thanks,
it.
man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Bye.
Yep. We'll be talking. Yeah. So Ben, I think that we're coming on the 8 o'clock hour, and I want to just thank everybody who was with us tonight. Next week we will have, I believe we're going to have the Lieutenant Governor from Michigan and the Lieutenant Governor from Delaware to talk a little bit about what's happening in their states, and in particular the reopening strategy. So until then, stay safe. We'll be on noontime on Friday, talking more specifically about the small business issues, and then we'll be back next Wednesday. So stay safe. Our number one job is to make sure we don't catch the virus, and let's follow the directions with the masks, with the hand sanitizing, and of course with the social distancing. But let's not forget the fact that, we're going to reopen, and we need to be flexible when we do. Thank you all for being here. Ben, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate your help.